Sam, what's the word?
Earned.
Earned?
My first service position in AA was the coffee maker for my home group. Make the coffee before and clean the urns after.
That's an honor.
My sponsor told me I earned it.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine half-hour variety hour featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
And I'm Olis, an alcoholic finally in Oakland, California.
Ooh, you landed in a spot.
I did.
Olis, first of all, I want to share we got some listener feedback. This is an email we got from Jeremiah. The subject is blessed to change, ... still. Jeremiah writes, greetings. Even as my higher power reveals more, my old habits creep in. Like skipping or dismissing Scotty's episode because I drank until 42 years old. The episode title, Never Had a Legal Drink, had my mind quitting before I listened. However, the episode literally brought me to tears as his kind soul shared personal prayers aloud when asked. Scotty didn't shy away from his passion and faith. What a reminder to keep adding to my mix new, different ways to love and stay sober. Jeremiah L. in Omaha.
What a beautiful email. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Isn't it? Jeremiah, thank you so much. And so Scotty's episode was released on June 10th. It's season 6, episode 24. And so Scotty is a young guy. I mean, he never had a legal drink. It was a powerful conversation. He really touched a lot of people. Obviously, he got Jeremiah.
Yeah.
He got me too, Alice, and I didn't even realize it.
What do you mean?
One of the things that Scotty was talking about was his home group. And his home group was just on fire. His passion about it was just so perfect. And what turned out to be is I wound up finding a home group just like it.
Huh.
And then I listened to Scotty's episode and the things clicked.
Yeah.
Because I was on that interview with Scotty. So Scotty got in my head and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found this group. It's a little bit of a drive for me, which is one of the reasons I hadn't checked it out. But when I got there, you know how an intuitive thought or action,
Yes.
sometimes you just know. I sat in that meeting.
And you knew.
I knew. I've got to tout them. The group is called Shipwreck. And we meet on Friday nights at 7 p.m. in Palm Desert, California.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, within 3 meetings, they had a business meeting. And so I sat in and it's like, I'm joining. You're my home group.
Yeah.
It's a men's meeting, a lot of young guys, a few older guys like me. It's on fire. It's a fantastic group.
Having something impact us, influence us, and not always understanding where it comes from happens, I think, a lot more than we realize. When you are in a space, particularly in a meeting at Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's the right group for you, you can feel it. This is my tribe. These are my people.
That's it. And sometimes it takes a minute, right?
It does. Just because something doesn't happen in the time frame that you think it should doesn't mean that you should stop trying.
Don't quit before the miracle happens.
Yeah. It kept me from getting up and slipping out of meetings, as a newcomer. If the meeting was going to be what I thought was a dud, I would try to slip out. And the don't quit before the miracle initially meant for me, don't leave the meeting.
Oh, that's fantastic. Alice, who's our guest today?
Oh my God, I'm so excited, Sam. So we've got one of my favorite people today. We've got Reggie W. from Los Angeles.
Oh.
And later we'll see if we can interest Reggie in some discussion on hashtag heard in a meeting.
Now, why do you say it like that? Hashtag heard in a meeting. Like you got an attitude.
I'm a Black woman, so everybody always is accusing me of I ain't got no attitude. This just how I say it that way because I'm asking all of our listeners to just post hashtag heard in a meeting and send us any interesting thing that you've heard in a meeting. Because if you're going to meetings at Alcoholics Anonymous, man, you are going to hear some stuff.
You are.
You can give a gift subscription of Grapevine or Lavinia.
Grapevine has a long waiting list of incarcerated members who want one. Get your group, district, area, or AA friends to join in.
It's easy. Go to aagrapevine.org and look for Carry the Message at the top of the site.
My name is Reggie. I am from Los Angeles. My home group is the Never Too Early Big Book Workshop, and I've been sober since June 24th, 2017.
Reggie, what was going on that had you come into Alcoholics Anonymous?
Well, this time what was going on is I had been away from alcohol. This was my second time in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd been out for 16 years. I'd had a tragedy in my life, and I was out for 16 years, and I finally made it back home. I'd become a low pop.
So this is your second round.
That's correct. I first came February 7th, 1987, and I stayed here for several years, and then my daughter died. My daughter died from medical malpractice, and I kind of checked out before I made it back.
You know, Reggie, will you talk a little bit about how you found yourself in a position where drinking seemed like a good idea again?
After I got here, life got really good really fast for me in Alcoholics Anonymous. I had come here on a really high bottom, and I took to AA. I loved AA immediately, and I took to it, and we started the Never Too Early Big Book Workshop when I had about 10 months sober. And so now I have 3 brothers here in the fellowship. One came right after that in 2017, and Ralph and Ronald, they came in 1986. And so we're working the steps together. Life is good. I'm getting a job really quickly, and I'm making good money. I get a girlfriend really fast in the program. Within 2 or 3 weeks, we move in together. She has a son. I have a ready-made family. Life just really took off and got really good really fast. I was handpicked to bring a guy's company from Atlanta to Los Angeles. So I'm working, and I have 2 homes now. I'm in Atlanta, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm flying back and forth. I stopped doing all the things in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm no longer working the steps because I'm in Atlanta and I'm flying back. I stopped going to meetings. I stopped calling my sponsor. I had a sponsor in name only. I've been going on panels to prisons. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not taking panels on Skid Row. As I like to say, don't let the life that AA gave you get in the way of your AA life. And that's what happened with me. Mm-hmm. And so now when I had a tragedy, when my little girl got sick, and then subsequently she died, my feet were drained. I no longer had that foundation under me of Alcoholics Anonymous, and totally checked out. And I totally started hating God, and I'm cursing God on a daily basis. And I lasted 11 months like that. And after 11 months, after she died, I went to a bar and I drank. And then, well, about a month after that, on the anniversary of her death, I tried to commit suicide. Well, I did commit suicide. I was pronounced dead on arrival. Well, I'd become legally blind. I had glaucoma. I got that in 2009 and became legally blind. So I became a lot of drunk. And I was angry at God the whole time. And I kept trying to get back here. You know, I did everything I could. God, that was the only thing I didn't want to try. And finally, in June 24th, 2017, circumstances happened where I could get back.
So you did attempt to come back into AA during that 16-year period?
I tried to do it several times. I wanted to come back. See, I was ashamed and humiliated, and all of my brothers have all this time. We came in together, basically, and all I could think is, they still have all their time. I don't have my time. I don't have my baby. I don't have anything. And I'm just angry, and I'm ashamed, and I'm humiliated. And I become a serial relapser like I became, and all those times trying to make it back. AA ceased to be a friendly direction. Now it felt like people in AA were looking down on me.
It felt that way is what you said.
It felt that way. But I'm going to meetings late. I don't have to raise my hand as a newcomer because I'm ashamed. I'm leaving meetings early because I don't want to take chips because I'm too ashamed, and I'm relapsing over and over again.
You know, Reggie, what you were describing there, you're also describing my experience when I first came to AA. I didn't get any traction. I kept on drinking. I'm sick of me taking these chips. But it wasn't the room. The room wasn't sick of it. The meetings, the people in the rooms,
Yeah.
they want us to succeed.
What happened is I always thought I had to prove myself based on my relationship with my brothers, right? I have three brothers, 36 and 37 years of sobriety now. And in my mind, each of you guys are judging me based on them. And why can't you be like your brothers? Why can't you get this thing? If you really wanted this thing, you would stay sober. You would accept this. And I really wanted it so badly every single time. Only I didn't want to do it. God, I hated God. I hated God. And the struggle was to build back relationship with God.
And well, I'm also hearing that you're holding yourself to a standard that no one can achieve. I reset my sobriety date about 9 years into my recovery, and I was so mean to me, particularly that first year after I'd started over. These guys that were so important to me saw it and told me to put down the stick. You keep on beating yourself up and keeping yourself from getting what we're offering.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like that's what was going on there.
That probably is true, Sam. However, I never let anybody get close enough to tell me that.
Yeah.
I hid from the people. I'm so ashamed and so humiliated and so dominated by what everybody thinks about me. I wanted to have able to walk in with my head up. So I said, I'm not going back in there until I have a year. And so I wasn't around people that love me or know me.
Yeah. I just want to talk about my insanity because I hear it in what you're saying. Who the heck picked a year? Like, I just picked these random things in my life, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be okay when this happens. It's like a random thing I pick. So to say, I'm going to stay away from the people that love me until I meet some benchmark I've decided is self-punishment.
Yeah.
It's self-denial. And it's this thing that we do that I think keeps us suffering.
It's total insanity. I'm pulling 1 year. Why 1 year? Why in the world? And what I've learned from that is I've learned to bring that, like right now, I don't put arbitrary dates or times or anything on anyone in my life, period.
Also, it's unkind. Would I impose upon someone else what I'm imposing upon myself?
Yeah.
Would I tell someone else, you can't go to that meeting for a year where people know you and love you?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
You know, the other thing, Reggie, I'd love for you to say more about is trained feet. I heard you say my feet weren't trained.
Okay. When I first came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was so excited and so into it. We went to a lot of meetings. We participated in all of the AA activities. I would go on panels to prisons. I would take panels downtown on Skid Row.
What's the panel?
Well, when we go to a prison with other members of Alcoholics Anonymous, or I go to detoxes with other members of Alcoholics Anonymous, or I would take people to go speak at meetings when I take them in the rehabs. Those are the panels. They're usually with H&I, hospital and institution. And so I would go on those. All of a sudden, as I gained sobriety, now, okay, the job is too important. And now there goes the balance. And why wouldn't people in Alcoholics Anonymous not want me to have a job and be self-supporting and be a productive member of society? Isn't that why we get sober? And then I'm taking care of my family. Why would that be a bad thing? But now I don't have the balance. I've left Alcoholics Anonymous out of it. And as I start to do that, I start to leave God out of it. And it starts creeping into my head that I'm doing this. Now, I've got 10 years sobriety. Not that God has given me 10 years sobriety. I'm doing this.
Right.
It starts to creep in that I'm doing all these things and I've got this.
Reggie, did you talk with anybody about this while it was going on?
Absolutely not. Why would I?
I got this. Famous words right before I crash and burn.
I got this. I tend to believe if my daughter had not had the catastrophic illness and the catastrophe hadn't happened, God knows how long I may have gone on. it happened and I wasn't ready and I didn't have a foundation and I couldn't withstand what came and life showed up.
Yep.
But things are different today. And I'm curious, what does an average week of your life in recovery look like today?
On a daily basis, I'm sending out meetings to 980 people every day. I have a WhatsApp group. When the pandemic started, I was thinking, what kind of commitment can I have? And I thought, how can people find out where meetings are? And I started a WhatsApp group. I bundle up flyers and I send them out all over the world. Every day I send out flyers to hundreds of people. I have about 18, 19 people that I'm actively working with. Generally, there's one or two that I'm always going through the book with. I have a 7 a.m. meeting here in Los Angeles, 7 a.m. Pacific time, that I go to 5 days a week. And then I go to Never Too Early Big Book Workshop every Sunday morning. Then I have a couple of live meetings that I go to on a regular basis. Then I got to get to see my mom. My mom is my hero. My mom turned 94 years old this year. She's all totally here. I walked in on my mom on my birthday this year, on my anniversary. And I said, thank you, Mom. And my mom looked at me and she said, for what? I said, thank you for praying me back into Alcoholics Anonymous, praying me back home. And my mom got up and gave me that hug of life where she just squeezed the life out of me, and it wasn't that way. My mom raised 6 boys by herself. We were all very highly successful. And she was very proud of all her sons. And then all 6 of us ended up drinking and using. And my mom almost died right before we came to the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. She had a nervous breakdown because all 6 of us moved back in her house and were drinking and using. And she almost died. And then Ronald came to the fellowship first. Ralph came to the fellowship. Then I came to the fellowship. Then Rod came to the fellowship. I have 2 other brothers who are fine. They don't need the fellowship. I was the last one, and she wouldn't give up on me. She wouldn't give up on me, and she let me rent a room in her house. And she didn't want me out there on the street.
Yeah.
When she finally had to kick me out in 2017, and she said she never wanted me on her property again for the rest of her life. She said, stay away from her, and she was terrified.
That is heart-wrenching, I'm sure.
It felt like a piece of my soul was taken from me.
Yeah.
And when I came out of that rehab, I called her to get my clothes. She was terrified. She said, oh my God, you're out already? Don't come on my property. Then I remember on Thanksgiving of that year, Ralph said, Mom said it's okay for you to come home. And I went for Thanksgiving. And then at the 2-year mark, she came to Never Too Early Big Book Workshop to give me my 2-year cake. And she gave me that hug that she gave me this time.
Yeah.
She still wasn't sure I was back. Finally, a couple of years ago, she wrote my birthday card, you're the center of my universe. And she and I got so unbelievably close. And I'm so grateful to pay her back just a little.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with tears welled up in my eyes, Reggie. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Reggie, I love you. Don't go anywhere. It's time for #Heard in a Meeting. This is where we scour the interweb for your posts of cool things you've heard in a meeting. Please post them on social media with #Heard in a Meeting, keeping in mind our tradition of anonymity. Sam, what sort of hashtags do we have for folks today?
Olis, I got to share one that I heard in a meeting to start off. This one really kind of slapped me upside the head because I've heard a term, relapse row. I have said relapse row, meaning that back row of chairs in a meeting.
Yeah.
That is not part of my vocabulary anymore. What I heard shared in this meeting was, if there's a bad seat in an AA meeting, there shouldn't be a chair there.
Woo! Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes, it is easy to duck out of the meeting if you're sitting on the back row.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the back row as well. If I show up late to a meeting, I grab the first chair that I can sit in.
Yeah.
Thank God it's not a bad seat.
We know that there are sometimes meetings where people hang out in the back that are not all the way well, right? Mm-hmm. People who may be hearing voices, or, you know what I mean? A shower wouldn't hurt you. It's Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not Wellness Anonymous. And there was a guy that was in the back of the room for years. And I move away and I come back and he is fully engaged. He's sponsoring people, he's all in. And it was this really profound experience of what you just said. He didn't have a bad seat. It took more time. And we've got to give the people that are maybe not acting the way we think they ought to in those seats time to join us.
Reggie, what do you think? Are there any bad seats in AA?
Well, I can give you a story about relapse row. We called it death row back in 87. The very first meeting I went to in Alcoholics Anonymous, I walked in the 9604 South Figueroa, an AA club in South Central Los Angeles. Myself and my two friends, we walked in and we were so scared, we went back to the death row, the relapse row, which is the only place there were seats. Well, I was terrified. I don't know how they felt. Then I had a magical experience. I sat there and I looked to my left and I saw that coffee pot sitting over there. And I'd never been to a meeting, right? And so I looked at that coffee pot and I really wanted, it was glowing, that big silver pot. And then I looked over there and there was a plate piled high with cookies, not the 99-cent store kind, like Oreos, good stuff, right? And I wanted those cookies, but it was a crowd of people laughing and joking by that coffee pot. And it was a guy standing behind the counter. See, and I was terrified because I'm thinking, what if I walk over there and pour a cup of coffee and that guy asks me for a quarter? See, I don't have it. Or what if I go over there and pick up a cookie and they ask me for a nickel? See, I don't have that either. And I don't know how this woman figured out I was new or read my mind, but she came all the way back to Relapse Row where I was through that whole crowd of people laughing and joking. And it was so loud she had to whisper. And she put her mouth next to my ear and she whispered, she said, baby, she said, go over there and get you some of that coffee. Go over there and get you some of those cookies. All you want is free. And she smiled and winked at me. And that's when I fell in love with you guys.
Oh, I love that.
An angel comes to death row.
Olis,
Yeah.
you're a poet.
Yeah, I love that.
Olis, why don't you take the next one?
So I heard in a meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous is not a book of pictures. It's a book of mirrors. It's such a profound way to say what you're reading about in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous is yourself. And it should always be where you're reading and looking for yourself. It's a book of mirrors.
I actually love that. It seems like a lot of times people think what I'm reading in the big book, this is what's going to happen for me. Not what happened with some other people. And let me see if my experiences mirror that. Like you say, Alice.
Let's grab another hashtag. Religion is for those who are trying to stay out of hell. Spirituality is for those who have already been there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the thing I think that attracts people young in recovery to us, that we understand their pain and their suffering. We've been to hell. If you've been to hell and you share what hell is like, other people that have been to hell know that you know what you're talking about. I'm not here to get like a golden star. I really am here to save my life, to not go back to hell.
Reggie, what do you think about that?
When I went to church, I had to be good already. It's like you can't wear bad clothes. You don't want to have bad behavior. Here, we don't care what their behavior is. Come here as you are, and we're going to meet you wherever you are. The worse off you are when you get here, the better your chances are of staying.
Good point. Alice, how about grab one more of those?
Our higher power speaks to us through people. Sometimes, particularly when I was new, I thought that the voice of God was going to like boom through and speak directly to me, like give me personalized guidance and direction. And what I've learned over the years is many people in Alcoholics Anonymous have been where I'm at, and I get the benefit of their experience, and the God in them speaks to the God in me. So I really like that one.
The main thing I take from it is I don't know everything. When I learn things, it could be from the people that I work with, and I learn from their experiences, especially like going through inventories, going through their life experience. When I look at them and the things that they go through, I learn so much more.
That's fantastic. You know, and that has been the case for me. higher power, God, speaks to me through other people. That's where I hear the lessons, the wisdom that I need to hear. And usually it's the moment that I need to hear it. My sponsor and I were meeting last week, and one of the things he told me was we all go through different experiences in our recovery journey. And some of us might go through a certain experience 1 year in, and somebody else might not go until they're 30 years in, go through that same experience. That's where we all get to help each other, because that person who went through it at 1 year last year can still help that person with 30 years because they're going through it for the first time.
I think that's the power of the statement that we walk shoulder to shoulder.
Oh, man. Reggie, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute pleasure and privilege to get to know you a bit.
Oh, thank both of you for having me out. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone who subscribes to the Grapevine magazine in print or in the AA Grapevine app. Your support makes this podcast possible.
Sam, can you get that? It's the listener feedback phone.
212-870-3418. Yeah, hang on, I'll get it.
Hello? Hello, I'm Cary, and I have alcoholism, and I'm calling you from Alma, Wisconsin. I just listened to episode 1 of season 7 and was intrigued by what you were talking about. How do you introduce yourself? I introduce myself kind of both ways, but primarily as having alcoholism, because my sponsor introduces himself that way. And his reasoning behind it, and it has become my reasoning as well, is I have a disease. I am not the disease. That's like saying when you talk to somebody and say, hello, I have diabetes. You can also say, I am diabetic. And in same context, you get different reactions from whether you state, I have a disease, or I am the disease. Once again, I'm Cary, and I have alcoholism. Thank you.
Cary, wow, yeah, I get that. Specificity is an important thing for me, and over the years, I've changed in the way that I introduce myself. When I first came into these rooms, I really had a distaste for introducing myself as an alcoholic. So I would say, I'm Sam, I'm alcoholic. But that didn't persist, and the way I am these days, it just, I kind of go with the flow, and however people are introducing themselves as we go down the line, I tend to just follow suit. It's interesting the way that we do our introductions, and we really appreciate you calling in and telling us about the way that you do.
A man and a giraffe walk into a bar. After a few drinks, the giraffe falls over and dies.
Well, he's gone. I guess I'm out of here, too.
The bartender shouts.
Hey, you can't leave that lion there.
What? That's not a lion, you dummy. That's a giraffe.
It's really not that funny. Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. Podcast info, including how to call in, is at aagrapevine.org/podcast. Search AA Grapevine in the App Store on your phone or find AA Grapevine on Instagram and YouTube. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org. If you want to know more about AA, search online for Alcoholics Anonymous in your city or visit aa.org.
That was freaking amazing.